This is the Bessborough Hotel and it's Saskatoon's castle on the banks of the South Saskatchewan River. Join me for an unforgettable 4-night stay inside this 90-year-old castle nestled in the heart of the prairies. From the best culinary experience I've seen to date at a Grand Railway Hotel to the spacious accommodations in one of Canada's most underrated cities, the Bessborough was Canada's final Chateau-style hotel and the last Grand Railway Hotel built in Western Canada, and one of the last icons of ambition that the Grand Railway Hotel stood for across Canada a century ago. Now this video was filmed in July of 2024, but we need to rewind back to 1913 to tell this story from the beginning. The year 1913 saw the Grand Trunk Pacific Railway open the Fort Garry Hotel in Winnipeg, and shortly after, construction began 600 kilometers away on the Hotel Qu'appelle in Regina, Saskatchewan. And these two hotels were part of a plan to establish a network of 8 railway hotels across the Grand Trunk Pacific transcontinental route. However, the chaos of World War I and bankruptcy of 1920 forced Grand Trunk Pacific to abandon the incomplete Chateau, but in 1924 the Canadian Pacific would rummage the structure of the unfinished Chateau Qu'appelle and use those materials to construct their new luxury hotel, the Hotel Saskatchewan, and that would open in 1927. Now amidst the roaring 20s, Saskatoon had emerged as a bustling railway hub under the newly formed Canadian National Railways. Now CN was initially very hesitant to building a hotel in Saskatoon, but on December 31st of 1928, CN President Henry Thornton announced the acquisition of land for a railway hotel at the end of 21st Street, facing their passenger station just 500 meters away. And despite the onset of the Great Depression, construction of the Bessborough began in February of 1930, with the hotel providing one of the few job opportunities in Saskatoon at the time, and competition for positions was so fierce, on some days if you would take a smoke break, lunch break, or even in some cases a bathroom break, you'd be replaced before you even returned. And even NHL legend Gordie Howe worked on the construction of the hotel at 15 years old, a job that would influence his iconic jersey number 9, because whenever he traveled by train, he always traveled in seat number 9 of the coach that he was in. And by proxy, when Wayne Gretzky the Great One wore 99, it all originated back here at Saskatoon's castle on the river at the Bessborough Hotel. Now the hotel was completed in 1932, but CN was losing money at an alarming rate, and this almost led to the demolition of the hotel before it even opened. But in 1935, the city of Saskatoon would incentivize CN to open the hotel with a 25-year property tax exemption. The Bessborough would then be named after this guy, the Earl of Bessborough, and the hotel would open its doors to the public in December of 1935. It was designed as a Bavarian-style chateau with a copper roof and turret towers built from Tyndall stone, which was actually the same stone used in Canadian Pacific's Royal Alexandra Hotel in Winnipeg. The Bessborough reigned as Saskatoon's tallest building, standing 10 stories high along the banks of the South Saskatchewan, and upon opening would fetch a steep $3 a night for a room. Wow, how things have changed since. Now the Bessborough Hotel symbolized hope for Saskatoon's post-war economic resurgence following World War II, especially into 1955 when CN launched their new flagship train, the Super Continental, heading from downtown Montreal into Winnipeg Union Station, arriving here in Saskatoon down the street from the Bessborough, west into Edmonton, to the Rockies in Jasper, and finally arriving on the Pacific Coast in Vancouver. However, the dawn of the 1960s saw passenger rail service in Canada on life support to say the least, and in one final attempt to signal a new rail renaissance ahead, Canadian National would relocate passenger service to their new built station outside of downtown Saskatoon into the boonies along their main line outside the city in 1966. Now changing the commute from a 500-meter walk down the street to the Bessborough to almost 10 kilometers away, and the Bessborough would suffer a huge financial decline, with CN losing over $500,000 a year on the hotel well into the 1970s, and like a lot of other Grand Railway hotels, it was heavily considered for demolition. But in 1973, CN would sell the hotel to private owners, and in 1989 it was acquired by Delta Hotels, and in 2015 it was purchased by the Marriott for $135 million. And despite the forever-changing landscapes over the decades around the hotel, the Bessborough stands almost the same way that it was on opening day in 1935, blending timeless elegance with modern amenities as its iconic silhouette sits against the Saskatoon skyline. And fast forward to today in the summer of 2024, and for my 4-night stay inside Saskatoon's Grand Railway Hotel and the castle on the banks of the South Saskatchewan River. Now we start this journey in the same city that this story started in, my birthplace of Winnipeg, Manitoba, where my good friend Dave Wheeler and I headed down along Highway 16 out of Manitoba into the province of Saskatchewan through these stunning canola fields before we would finally arrive later tonight in the downtown Saskatoon. Now, I gotta give credit where credit is due, because Saskatoon is not just a stunning city, but they have done an incredible job to preserve the beauty of the Bessborough without overshadowing it with the towering skyline like the Palliser Hotel in Calgary, the Fort Garry in Winnipeg, or the Royal York from last week's episode in Toronto. And we would pull up, and this was our fixed address for the next 4 nights. Oh, wow. Not bad at all. And it doesn't stop there, because the hotel welcomed us with an incredibly constructed charcuterie board featuring local bison products, Saskatoon berry compote, preserves, cheeses, and more, alongside 3 glasses of red wine. And although I don't drink, I know Dave does, and he absolutely enjoyed them. And after that, he was off to bed for an action-packed day ahead of us tomorrow. Now, there are few things as peaceful as a prairie sunrise, and the Bessborough is just the perfect vessel to take it in here in Saskatoon. Now, I really wanted to get an appreciation for the hotel's legacy and the story behind it, and the management were actually nice enough to give me a full hotel tour. From inside the engineering room and how they've kept the elevators running smoothly since 1935, to the same suite that the Royals stayed in during the war tour of 1939, and this old school telephone which, although I styled it off pretty well, I had absolutely no idea how to operate this thing. Pretty cool though. And after that, we would head up to the top of the building and the rooftop of the hotel for an incredible perspective of the old Canadian National Station at the end of 21st Street, which, as I alluded to earlier, was taken out of service over half a century ago, but played an incredibly important role to growing Saskatoon's present-day population, and ultimately why the Bessborough Hotel exists. And to the east of the hotel lies the stunning river trail, as well as Saskatoon's riverboat, which you see passing by in the background here, which I'll cover more on that later, as well as a catastrophic sinking you gotta see to believe. Although the big highlight for me was meeting the executive and the sous chef. I worked in countless kitchens and bakeries in my late teens and early 20s, so stuff like this is truly my Disneyland. From a scratch-made brioche bread that they're using for what I can only describe as the greatest French toast on planet Earth, composed of creme anglaise, Saskatoon berry compote, and bruleed bananas. They're also doing an eggs benedict that's next level with a sous vide, CO2 charged hollandaise that's just a little bit lighter than your traditional hollandaise and gets served up on their beef short rib benny, which was absolutely elite, as well as their classic benny with pea meal bacon. And you know the chef takes his benny game seriously when he's serving up pea meal bacon on his eggs benedict. The Bessborough also started offering a high tea service, which is an English tradition featuring handcrafted teas, pastries, finger sandwiches, and my favorite dessert of all time, a creme brulee. I honestly wish I had some constructive feedback, but the culinary experience rolled out all the stops and stimulated my palate from every angle, and is without a doubt the best one yet in the series. I mean, the chef's signature beef short rib, the New York strip steak, black and rainbow trout, the Sunday brunch, chicken and waffles, scratch-made pancakes. The hotel has one of the best chefs out there, and oh, don't you worry, they got a wicked cup of joe as well. Whether it's room service or tableside, the chef and his culinary team do not change anything. You guys are doing a fantastic job. Now, when we got back downstairs, we learned that the Bessborough offers complimentary bikes to all guests, and inspired by the amount of calories we knew we would be intaking over the next 3 nights, we took the bikes out down 21st Street to check out the farmers market, as well as pass by the old Canadian National Station. Back in the glory days, if you were traveling to or from Saskatoon by train, this was the station, and more importantly, the view that you would have coming out of it. And CN even built a tunnel that leads directly to the hotel from the station for the wealthiest of passengers looking to skirt the icy grips of a prairie winter. A true luxury to have back in the day. And we would also end up passing by the old Canadian Pacific Station from 1908, which actually is a restaurant now. It's really cool to see that they've kept these buildings around. After that, we headed down the Broadway Bridge and back down the river trail, where we actually stumbled upon the opportunity to rent a kayak down the river. So Dave and I put our life belts on and marched down to the banks of the South Saskatchewan, and after I beached myself a few times, we got moving past Poop Island, and yes, that is the actual name for it, Poop Island, and down current for an incredible view of our Chateau castle for the next 3 nights, where seemingly out of nowhere, we noticed the riverboat passing by us. It's the Prairie Lily, it's the riverboat of Saskatoon. It's Saskatoon's riverboat, and inspired by it, Dave and I would head back, freshen up, and get some tickets for the 4 p.m. sailing, and we paid for those with today's video sponsor, Ridge Wallets. The Ridge Wallet is the best wallet money can buy. It comes with a lifetime warranty. I've had mine for almost 4 years. It holds up to 12 cards while remaining as slim as possible, with over 3 million customers and 100,000 5-star reviews. The Ridge team is so confident you'll like it that they will let you test drive it for 99 days, and if you don't like it, you can send it back, no questions asked. They also make this super durable carry-on suitcase that you've seen me traveling around with throughout this entire series and all my travel vlogs, and right now they're having a massive sweepstakes for my US audience, where the winner will get a Hennessy Velociraptor, gold-plated Cybertruck, and $100,000 cash now through September 13th. And for every $1 you spend on the site, you get 1 entry. So what are you waiting for? Get your hands on the best wallet and carry-on suitcase money can buy today, and you can even enter for free by using my link at ridge.com/trav. And thank you so much to Ridge for sponsoring this video. Now, the Prairie Lily is operated by a former member of the Canadian Navy, and the cruise stretches downstream past the Bessborough Hotel from just a few decks above where we were in the water a few hours earlier, with just a bit more speed. And also right here, Dave told me to do the Titanic pose, where the captain then immediately told me to come up with something new, bud, because everybody else does that pose. Now, you may think this is just your standard riverboat cruise, but over a century ago in 1908, the city of Medicine Hat riverboat was sailing downstream when she collided with the Grand Trunk Pacific Rail Bridge, capsized and then sunk to the bottom, where parts of her still remain beneath us today over the river that we're cruising over top of. I mean, it truly is never a dull moment in the books of Canadian history here, and for $30 a ticket, it's a truly solid trip, and for $20 for 2 hours in the kayaks with the local adventure company, you'll be occupied for hours here in Saskatoon, no problem, when you're staying at the Bessborough Hotel. Now, the South Saskatchewan River water is kind of gross, so we would head back to the hotel and head towards the pool. And a few decades ago, the hotel's pool was actually an outdoor pool in the location of today's parking lot, which is actually pretty cool, but the indoor glass roof and the hot tub combo today is pretty sweet as well.
You know what time it is. Cannonball!
Now, a century ago, the railway hotels were a vessel to attract wealthy travelers west to experience the beauty of Canada. And all the railway hotels had daily mail service for guests looking to write back home to their loved ones. Now, in episode 4 at the Hotel Vancouver, I wrote a postcard home to my mom in Winnipeg to tell her how much I loved her and how excited I was for our trip at the Fort Garry Hotel, which hopefully you've seen that episode now because it is live. But the Bessborough Hotel is no different. Dave wrote back to his wife Candace in Winnipeg to let her know how much he loved her, and I wrote back to Vancouver to tell Bella how excited I was to do our trip to the Hotel McDonald in Edmonton, which is going to be the focus of next week's episode in this series. And although the glory days of passenger rail service are long gone and only operate 2 days a week out of Saskatoon today, daily mail service still operates daily out of the Bessborough Hotel 90 years after its grand opening. And over the next few days, we were able to mix in a few rounds of golf at the Dakota Dunes, which is an absolutely stunning course about 25 minutes away. All in all, there's always something to do in Saskatoon.
There's always something to do.
And the Bessborough is truly Saskatoon's hidden gem, offering an unparalleled culinary experience with cozy beds, spacious rooms, and even if you call Saskatoon home and are never going to stay here, do yourself a favor and dine here. Breakfast, lunch, or dinner, as well as the Saturday-Sunday brunch, I can confidently say there's not a single bad dish on the menu. Now, most of the other properties tend to erase some of the nostalgia and the railway hotel essence, all in the name of luxury. And as nice as the Chateau Lake Louise and the Hotel Vancouver are, I committed to fulfilling this series to experience a timeless piece of Canadian history, because no state-of-the-art plumbing or comfy bed will ever replace my love and desire to explore Canada's lineup of Grand Railway hotels. But I will say, it doesn't hurt that the Bessborough Hotel has the comfiest beds that have me asleep within minutes, not to mention the Bessborough is also the cheapest ticket to ride, a piece of history for only $180 to $200 a night. And when Marriott completes their massive renovation for the 100th anniversary coming up, they'll be delivering even more value for your money than ever before, because although I said I wouldn't pick favorites in this series, yes, the Fort Garry will be special because it's where I was born and raised, and yes, the Palliser in Calgary will always be my first railway hotel experience. I gotta say, the Bessborough Hotel is my favorite by far to date because top to bottom, everything is executed with precision and it's truly the heartbeat of Saskatoon. And after that, I headed out of Saskatoon to the airport, back to Vancouver, because as I mentioned earlier, next week I'm road tripping to the Hotel McDonald in Edmonton, so hit the subscribe button so you don't miss that video and find out why I was a bit disappointed, especially after this week's masterpiece in Saskatoon. This series on the Grand Railway Hotels of Canada is my love letter to my country and my tribute to the countless brave men that sacrificed it all to build the coast-to-coast railway and united country along the way with countless castles along the route. Thank you so much for watching. If you have a story in the Bessborough Hotel, please leave it in the comment section below because I would love to hear it, and I can't wait to see you next week in Alberta's capital in Edmonton. I'll see you then.